Okay, so great evening, everyone. Thank you so very much again. Happy new month. Yes, welcome to the month of October. Yes, I'm super excited that we're here in the month of October. Gradually getting closer towards December. We'll soon be hearing jingle bells and all of those things. Yes, the year is gradually winding down, and we are super grateful and super excited. But most importantly, I'm super excited to have you join us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you. This is the Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade, and we get to do this every Fridays from 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. And we basically just get to share our experience of the week, the things we learned, the challenges we faced, and how we're able to overcome them. That's what we get to do when we do the Upgrade Mastery just for you. So, how are you? How was your week? Like in Nigeria, this week was Independence, October 1st, and Nigeria is 65. So, fellow Nigerians all around the world, happy Independence, Nigeria at 65. Yes, amazing. Amazing. How have you been? How was your week? What did you do this week? What challenges you faced? How were you able to overcome it? All the challenges you faced, the difficulties and all. How was it for you? How was your week? Tell me about it. I'd like to know how your week has been. What stood out for you? My week has been amazing, right? I was able to do something I set out to do this week, and I completed the deal even before Friday. That yesterday I completed the deal. Today's Friday, right? So that was a major highlight for me, and I enjoyed that I was able to do that. And I thank God for the privilege and the opportunity to be able to do things like that. So, how was your week? Tell me about your week. While I'm waiting for you to tell me about your week, this week, today, we are going into a new conversation. We just finished the series on Let's Talk Romance, which we did in the whole of September. We did a series on Let's Talk Romance from chapter 1 to chapter 16. It's a four-part series. It was a beautiful exposition on the book of Romans. So in case you missed out on that series, please go watch on the YouTube live. You get to learn the things that we shared from that. It was a beautiful, beautiful series. And I look forward to the next series we're going to have. Right. I already told you we have one series in January, Genesis. Hey, I can't wait. It's like a movie, Genesis. I can't wait for January so we can. January 2026, we'll begin the series Genesis. There's so much to learn from the book of Genesis, from all the stories that are there. Amazing conversation in that book of Genesis. And we're going to take on that series, most likely for the first quarter of 2026, explaining every story in detail, drawing out the life lessons, the business lessons, the entrepreneurship lessons, right? The leadership lessons from that book of Genesis, right? And like I always tell us, the Bible is not a religious book. It's a manual for living, right? So today we have a very short conversation, and it's on the man called Haman. The man called Haman. Did you get that? Does it make sense to you? The man called Haman. Yes, that's the conversation we're going to be having today. Sometimes, yeah, things you can learn from even the worst kind of person, interestingly. And looking at the book of Esther, because you find that story in the book of Esther from chapter 3 to chapter 6. Well, I'm going to cover from chapter 1, chapter 6, so I can give you a background story before we get into it, right? There's this saying from Archbishop Benson Idahosa. He says that even from a fool, you can learn how not to be a fool. So I felt from Haman, there are things you can also learn from Haman. How many of you remember Rahab the prostitute? I've done a series on Rahab. I called it The Escort. Right? I did a series on Rahab, and there were so many lessons to draw from Rahab's story that will be beneficial for your own life. So the same thing for Haman. There's so many things to learn from Haman. Yes, Haman was not the best of characters, and the pit that he dug for Mordecai, he was the one thrown into it. That's the gallows, right? That jump and pass. Haman was the one that Mordecai jump and pass. Haman fell inside. Okay. But beyond that, there are some things about Haman that we should learn from. And there are three things I want to talk to you about that I picked from the story of Haman, and why those three things are also important for you as a person. Are you getting this? So beyond the fact that Haman was depicted as a villain, there are also some things you need to learn from that character, which is very, very critical. Are you getting it? There are some things you need to learn from that character called Haman that is very critical. And I do not want you to miss out of that learning. That's why we're having this conversation right now. Are we still together? Is this making sense? Right? Fantastic. So let's begin this conversation. Now, this story, let's go with the backstory. The backstory of this starts from Esther chapter 1. Right? And I'm going to read through some of the verse of scripture, and then we'll get to Haman, because this is why this backstory is important. The first lesson I want you to learn, now this is not the lessons from Haman, but the basic theme of the book of Esther for me is that God is a strategist with a sense of humor. I'll say that again. God is a strategist with a sense of humor. As in, God is a strategist with a sense of humor. Like, when you see the things that God did in the book of Esther, you'll just be laughing. I'm laughing like my friend Mr. Emmanuel on his podcast. You will just be laughing. What is the master strategist that orchestrates everything to work together for your good? And the book of Esther is a vivid description of God's master strategy. You're going to say, how is this even a strategy? Let me explain. I'll tell you how it's a strategy. Let's begin from Esther chapter 1, right? Esther chapter 1, the book of Esther chapter 1. You see something very striking. Now, the king at the time was King Xerxes, right? King Xerxes was throwing a party. He was celebrating his rule. He was doing well, right? So he threw a party for 180 days. Imagine balling for 180 days. That's how many months? That's how many months? Close to 6 months. 6 months balling non-stop. 180 days for 6 months. So King Xerxes threw a party for 6 months. And then towards the end of the party, he now sent for his wife, Vashti, who was very beautiful, fair to behold. It says here, on the 7th day, when King Xerxes was in high spirit from wine, he was high, not on the most high, but was high on wine. He commanded the 7 eunuchs who served him, Miham, Biza, Abona, Bigta, Abakta, Zeta, and Kesas, to bring before him Queen Vashti, wearing a royal crown in order to display her beauty to the people and the nobles. For she was lovely to look at. See, whether I like it or not, marry fine wife. Oh. Marry fine wife. She was lovely to look at. But when the attendant delivered the king's command, Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. Now, Vashti was also celebrating with her friends. So they came to tell her, Vashti, Queen Vashti, King Xerxes is calling you, wants to show you off as usual. And King Vashti said, no, I'm not coming. Like, I'm not coming. Okay, they're not coming. Yes, go and tell the king I'm not coming. Oh, king, Queen Vashti says she's not coming. The king is angry. But look at all of these things. Now I tell you why God is a master strategist. Now, God is someone. God is not someone. God is the highest, right? God is the Ogara of them all. God has seen that. God sees the end from a beginning. He has seen that somewhere along the line, there will be a man called Haman who wants to destroy the Jews. And in order to save the Jews, Esther needs to be queen. And in order for Esther to be queen, Vashti needs to behave with daughter behavior so that she can be removed. You see the strategy? God plays chess. Like they say, you roll the dice, but now God they give 2-6. You roll the dice, but now God they give 2-6. So God had seen that Esther needed to be king, to be queen, so that she can help preserve the Jews. So Vashti needed to go. So tell me why Vashti will be angry when she already know that this is how the king normally would behave. Because this wasn't the first time the king would have been doing this. And Vashti said she wasn't going. God had said, okay. God was playing chess with all of them. So the king was upset. The people came to tell the king, his nobles, his white men said, King, this one that Vashti had disobeyed you, so all other women in the kingdom will start to disobey their husband. So you need to do something. And what do you need to do? You need to remove Vashti and then replace her. And the king said, oh, this was good advice. Let's remove Vashti. We go to chapter 2. Right? It says later, when the king's anger had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what he had done. And what he had decreed about her. So who said he was high on wine. Now he had come low. He had come low, and then he was like, oh my God, what did I just do? And the king's word is law. He cannot reverse it. The king's word is law. He can't reverse it. The king's decree is law. It cannot be reversed. The only way the king's decree can be reversed is that the king will pass another decree. And then they gave the king the advice. Commission all the maidens to be selected from all the harems, and then they will be given special treatment, and then they will come and appear before you. Anyone you select becomes the new queen. And then that was how Esther entered beauty pageant. So it's not today beauty pageantry started. So some of you are thinking, oh, beauty pageant is things of the world. Not true. It's not true. Beauty pageant is in scripture. That's why I tell you that the Bible is not a religious book. It's a manual for living. So it was time for beauty parade. Esther joined the pageants. Right? Esther had her own set of preparation. And then Esther appeared before the king. And the king fell in love with Esther. Right? And then the king made Esther queen instead of Vashti. So now the king was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women. And she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So see, Esther was a virgin. Let's not enter that virginity story today. We will not live here. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And the king gave a great banquet, Esther's banquet, for all the nobles and officials. And he proclaimed a holiday throughout the provinces and distributed gifts with royal liberality. So you see, the king is always just balling. Now, enter my guy, Haman. Remember I told you that God is a master strategist with a sense of humor. So you see, God had removed Vashti. God had installed Esther. Now, to other people, that may just be a normal event. But no, it wasn't. This was God doing God things. I'll say that again. This was God doing God things. God was orchestrating everything to align. Now Haman comes in. After these events, King Xerxes honored Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, elevating him and giving him a seat of honor higher than all the other nobles. So after the king, the next person is Haman. All the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to him. For the king had commanded this concerning him. Are you getting this? So the first lesson you must learn from Haman is lesson number 1. Be a key player. Please write that down. Never forget this. Lesson number 1 in the Man Called Haman. Be a key player. I don't know what you do. I don't know your occupation. I don't know your profession. I don't know your vocation. But whatever you do, be a key player. Are you getting this? Be a key player. Haman was a key player. After the king, Haman was next. You know, some people say, oh, I don't like politics. I don't like to be in position of authority. I just want to do my thing. No. No. You are the light of the world. You are a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. It makes no sense if you lack visibility. Haman was a key player. Haman had visibility. If you see the king, the next person you will see is Haman. Are you getting this? Haman got the king to make a decree concerning him that everybody should honor him. Everybody should bow down, should kneel down when they see him. He says, then the royal officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, why do you disobey the king's command? So you see, the king commanded that everybody should honor Haman. That's how much Haman was a key player. Everybody should honor Haman. Where they see him, they should bow to him. The same honor they gave to the king bestowed it on Haman. Haman was a key player. I don't know where you are. I don't know where you find yourself, but please be a key player. Grow in your system. Be a key player. Be a key player. Because you will not be able to effect changes or make things work or influence policies if you're not a key player. You can't do all of these things behind the scene. You have to be in the scene. Be a key player. You may not like Haman, but you cannot ignore the fact that Haman was a key player. Are you getting this? Is this making sense? You may not like Haman, but you cannot ignore that Haman was a key player. Haman had the ear of the king. The king listens to Haman. The king honors Haman. See, whether you like this or not, you must be a key player wherever you find yourself. Grow and be a key player. You can come in as a nobody. You can come in as a reserve, but grow to be a key player. Just like football, grow to be a starter. They may be benching you at the beginning, but grow to be a key player. Grow to be a key player. This is not a good example, but you know Bruno Fernandes is a key player in Manchester United. Whether he's playing well, he's not playing well, he will always start. He's a key player. He has scored 100 goals. He's a key player. Are you getting it? So, you must be a key player. That's one important lesson to learn from Haman. So where you are now, with your job, with your responsibility, with your roles, are you a key player? Or are you the player that is just warming the bench, never gets to play? There are some people that will go to a World Cup and not even step feet on the stadium. They will not step feet on the pitch, but they are in the World Cup. They are on the bench. They are not key players. The only time they may even play is when some players are injured and they have no other choice. Don't become that kind of person. No, don't become the kind of person that only have opportunity when others are injured. No, because some people may not be injured. So be a key player. Study the system you are in. Bring value, influence. That's how you grow to be a key player. I said it, you may not like Haman, but you cannot ignore that Haman was a key player. After the king, Xerxes, the next person was Haman. You will notice later that when the king was calling for someone to be in the banquet, it was Haman he called for. Even though Esther requested Haman, it was Haman the king still called for. Technically, Haman was second in command, technically, because he was a key player. So don't say, it's okay, I'm just okay where I am. No, you're not okay. Oh, you're not okay because they will make decisions against you. You're not okay. Be a key player. Haman was a key player. So be like Haman. Be a key player. Right? So let me tell you some other things. So you see, when Haman now saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay honor, he was enraged. Yet, having learned who Mordecai's people were, so he went to do his research on Mordecai. He scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. You see, how do you move from taking vengeance on one person to taking vengeance on a nation? That's how much you are a key player. He said, I'm not only just going to deal with Mordecai, I'm going to deal with the whole Jews. He says, therefore, they were told Haman about it to see whether Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he told them he was a Jew. So when Haman saw Mordecai would not kneel down, he was enraged. Yet, having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. Lesson number 2 from Haman. Be an influential favorite. I'll say that again. Be an influential favorite. The king was influential. Guess who his favorite was? Haman. They play, just they play. See, it's not about who you like, it's about who likes you. Are you getting this? It's not about who you like, it's about who likes you. The king loved Haman. He was the king's favorite. He was the king's favorite. Another thing you should learn from the man called Haman, be an influential favorite. People who have influence, be their favorite. Be their favorite. Be the one that stays top of mind with them. See this. Esther 3 from verse 8. It says, then Haman said to the king, there's a certain people dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom to keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of other people, and they do not obey the king's law. Now, this was only Mordecai who did not obey. He said, the people. He said, is it not in the king's best interest? He said, it is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree to be issued to destroy them. And I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury. So the king took his signet ring, his ring of authority, from his finger and gave it to Haman, the enemy of the Jews. He told Haman, keep the money, the king said to Haman, and do with the people as you please. See, you must be an influential favorite. See, Haman, he has unlocked this cheat code. First, he was a key player. Next, he was an influential favorite. The king gave him his signet ring, which is his ring of authority. The king told him, keep your money. Don't even give me money for it. Do as you please to the people. Then Haman set the date. Haman set the date for the destruction of the whole Jews. It says, verse 13, dispatches were made, sent by courier. So it's not today there will be courier and dispatch rider. You see, in the Bible, they are dispatch. They are courier. It's not today. Dispatch rider is in the Bible. Courier is in the Bible. He sent dispatch and courier to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate the Jews. Young old, women, and children on a single day. He wanted to exterminate the Jews, young, old, women, children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month of the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. So lesson number 1, be a key player. Lesson number 2, be an influential favorite. But this takes us to lesson number 3, which is most interesting. Lesson number 3, beware of God's people. See, no matter what you do, yes, you are a key player. Yes, you are the influential favorite. But you see God's people, don't go there. Oh, you see God's people, don't go there. See, they're not the trouble God picking. Oh, they're not the trouble God picking. Oh, you know when scripture says in Exodus 14:14, the Lord shall fight for you and shall hold your peace. See, don't go to God's people. That was where Haman messed up. Haman having the idea to want to kill the Jews was not a bad thing. He couldn't even do it. But you see, the moment Haman said he wants to exterminate the Jews, Haman wanted to punish Mordecai because he didn't bow to him. He could have done that. Only Mordecai would suffer for it. But the moment he said the whole Jews, God said, okay, this is about to have a plot twist. Like I told you, God is a master strategist with a sense of humor. Now, let me cast your mind back. God has removed Vashti because she showed godly behavior, and God has installed Esther, right? Because God had already seen that Haman will be angry with Mordecai and will want to destroy the Jews. You see how this plot is going. Now, Esther is now the queen. Now, the decree has been passed. Mordecai went to Esther and said, see, this is what the king has said. Let's go there so I can show us from scripture what it actually says so you can understand it. Now, when Mordecai heard all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. But he went only as far as the king's gate, because no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter it. In every province to which the edict and order of the king came, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing. Many lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's eunuch and female attendant came to her and told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. She sent clothes to him to put on instead of his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther summoned Haggith, one of the king's eunuch, assigned to her, and ordered him to find out what was troubling Mordecai and why. So Haggith went out to Mordecai in the open square in the city in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him, including the exact amount of money that Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the text of the edict for the annihilation, which had been published in Susa, to show to Esther and explain it to her. And he told him to instruct her to go to the king's presence to beg for mercy and plead with him for her people. You know, this story also is a depiction of Christ appealing to the Father for mercy on us. Are you getting it? That's another gist, yeah, but let's continue with Haman. So, Hathach went back and responded to Esther what Mordecai had said. Then she instructed him to say to Mordecai, all the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned by the king has but one law: they will be put to death unless the king extends the golden scepter to him and spare their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to the king. So Esther will say, see, what you are saying is okay, but I can't even go and see the king. The last time I saw the king was 30 days ago, a month ago. If the king does not send for me, if I go by myself, only one law awaits me, death. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. He says, for if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to royal position for such a time as this. And it's not who knows. This was why God put Esther as queen. Remember, I told us God is the master strategist that orchestrates everything to work together for good. This was why God put Esther there. You see, sometimes when you get into positions, you may not know why you are there. Remain there. Sooner or later, you figure out the purpose why God placed you there. You know, this book of Esther reminds me that God doesn't do anything just for doing sake. I'll say that again. God doesn't do anything just for doing sake. Everything God does has a purpose, has a plan. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean there is no purpose or a plan. Are you getting this? Just because you don't know it doesn't mean there is no purpose or a plan. Everything God does has a purpose and a plan. All you have to do is discover it. Mordecai told him, Mordecai told Esther, don't think because you are a queen, you will be spared because you are a Jew. Remember, who knows that God has put you in this position for such a time as this? Then Esther sent her reply to Mordecai. Says, go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not drink or eat for 3 days and nights. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go see the king, even though it's against the law. And if I perish, I perish. And I often say this, those who say, if I perish, they never perish. They never perish. So you see, why Haman was planning to kill the Jews, Esther and the Jews were planning to seek intervention from God and from the king. You see why I said this story is a very interesting plot twist. Haman was planning his own on one side, oblivious of what was happening with Mordecai and Esther. Now you don't know when they say, if God be for you, who goes that man? God was on Esther and Mordecai's side. Haman was alone, even though he had the king on his side. And who was the real king? The king of kings or King Xerxes? Are you getting it? No wonder with the rest it says, I get back in old, I know they walk alone. So let's move on. Chapter 5. This was where Haman, this is about to start to get plot twist is about to begin now. Now, after the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the hall, facing the entrance. When he saw Esther standing in the court, he was pleased. You know what scripture says, where the man's way please God, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. This is the same king that if he didn't send for you, you are dead. And you show up, he didn't send for you, is death. This is when the king saw Esther. Oh, Esther was black and broke. But when Esther see money, establish. Oh my God, help me. So, when the king saw Esther, he was pleased with her, and he stretched out his golden scepter towards her, which indicates you can come in. So Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. And then the king said, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request?" Hey, yeah. What is your request? "Even to the half of the kingdom I will give you." I don't know why kings used to talk like this, though. But this is the depiction of God. Remember the story of the prodigal son? The father shared his wealth into two halves. Remember, this is what Herod also said when Herodias' daughter danced for him. And he said, "Ask for anything, even to the half of my kingdom." And Esther said, "If it pleases the king, let the king, together with Haman, come today to a banquet I have prepared for him. Bring Haman at once," the king said, "so that we may do what Esther asked." You see, he surrounds you like a shield. He will cover you from now until the day you see the king. So the king and Haman went to the banquet that Esther had prepared. As they were drinking wine, the king again, so the first time was not a fluke, asked Esther, "Now, what is your petition? It will be given you. And what is your request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it will be granted." You know, Esther replied, "My petition and my request is this: if the king regards me with favor and it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for them. Then I will answer the king's question." So Haman, he went out that day happy and in high spirits. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gates and observed that he neither rose nor showed fear in his presence, he was filled with rage against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. You see, Haman. Haman gets school for head. King has invited you for banquet. You are the king's favorite. Yet, it's just one guy that you are getting angry about that is not even up to your level. Have you seen people that they will have iPhone, they'll be angry that somebody else is using Chinko? Why do you think like that? I say to people, pride is a healthy snack. You can eat it and swallow it, right? Pride is a healthy snack. Eat it and swallow it. Because it was just pride that was wrong with Haman right now. Remember, I told you, God is the master strategist. Because why will Haman not see all the other good things working for him? Why will his attention be on Mordecai that is not bowing down to him? You see, and that's the same mistake we also make sometimes in our lives. We ignore the good things that are working and we look at the one thing that doesn't seem to work. Don't be like Haman. Have sense. So calling together his friends and Zeresh, his wife, Haman boasted to them about his vast wealth, his many sons, and all the ways the king had honored him, and how he had elevated him above the other nobles and officials. And that's not all. Haman added, "I am the only person Queen Esther invited to accompany the king to the banquet she gave. And she invited me along with the king tomorrow." See, he says, "But all this gives me no satisfaction as long as I see the Jew Mordecai sitting at the king's gate." How can you have all of this, Haman, and be focused on Mordecai? You forgot that beware of God's people. You forgot that. They're not the trouble God begin. You forgot that. Because if you remember that, you focus on all the good things you're enjoying from the king and leave Mordecai alone. He says his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, set a pole up, reaching to a height of 50 cubits, that's the gallows, and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai impaled on it. They want to unalive Mordecai. Then go with the king to the banquet and enjoy yourself. This suggestion delighted Haman, and he set the pole up. But see how God is the master strategist. That night, the king could not sleep. And I said this jokingly that the king could not sleep. The king was doing night call. For those of you in Nigeria, there was a thing called night call, all night call there back in the day. It uses no credits. You could call from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. And a lot of people were using night calls in the morning. They'll be looking funny like zombies because they have talked all through the night. So I say here that the king could not sleep. The king was doing night call. To see how God is a strategist. How is it that that same night that Haman had planned to go and tell the king to kill Mordecai the next morning, that same night, the king could not sleep. So he ordered for the book of the Chronicles, the records of his reign, to be brought and read to him. It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's officials who guarded the doorway, who had compromised and conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. Then the king asked, what honor and recognition had Mordecai received for this? And they said, nothing has been done for him. The king said, who is in the courts? And now, you see how God is a strategist. When the king was asking who is in the court, guess who was coming into the court? Haman. You guessed right, Haman. Haman had just entered the court to the palace to speak to the king about killing Mordecai on the pole. God, you too do. God, you they do. You they overdo. God, you too do. You know when they say that song, only you can do, undo, redo, do. God to do. Haman was coming to tell the king to kill Mordecai, to hang him up on the pole, to impale him on the pole. And then when he came, the king attendant said, Haman is in the court. King said, bring Haman. Then when Haman came, the king said, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? So in Haman's mind, Scripture says, now Haman thought to himself, who is there that the king would rather honor than me? I laugh in pidgin English. So he answered the king, for the man that the king delights to honor, have them bring a royal robe the king has worn, and a horse the king has ridden, one with a royal crest placed on his head. Then let the robe and the horse be entrusted to the king's most noble princes. Let them robe the man the king delights to honor, and lead him on the horse through the city streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the man the king delights to honor. In Haman's mind now, I have finished it. Everything I have said is me that they will do it for. Then the king said, go at once. Get the robe. Get the horse. I think when Haman was hearing that, he would say, okay. He said, get the robe. Get the horse. And do as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Do not neglect anything you have recommended. Just do. Plot twist like never before. So Haman got the robe and the horse, and he robed Mordecai and led him on horseback through the city streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the man the king delights to honor. I can imagine how Haman felt walking Mordecai round the streets on the king's horse with the king's robe and proclaiming, "This is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor." See, God too dey do. God, you too dey do. Chai, chai. God, you do this one. Haman was planning to kill Mordecai. Now he's the one celebrating Mordecai that this is who the king decides to honor. Afterwards, Haman returned to the king's gate. Afterwards, Mordecai returned to the king's gate. But Haman rushed home with his head covered in grief. Like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And he told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends everything that had happened to him. His advisors and his wife said to him, remember, beware of God's people. They say, since Mordecai, before whom your downfall has started, is of the Jewish origin, you cannot stand against him. You will surely come to ruin. Hey! The same Haman that was advised to prepare a gallows, the same people are telling him that since Mordecai is a Jew, this your downfall has only just started though. You will come to ruin. While they were still talking with him, the king's eunuch arrived and hurried Haman away to the banquet that Esther has prepared. See, God to do. God to do. God never finish. You know when you play what? How many of you know cards, right? What? When you play what? When you are giving pick two, you now do suspension. You now do general markets. You now do pick two. You now do last card. The person hand will be full. You don't pick tire. You now do last card, pick three, check up. This was God doing Haman last card. You know, when Haman was declaring what should be done for the man king who decides to honor, God was doing pick two. When Haman was proclaiming this is the one whom the king decides to honor about Mordecai, God was doing pick three. When Haman got home and the wife and his advisor was telling him, if Mordecai is a Jew, your downfall has only just started. God said, oh yeah, pick five. While they were still talking, the news came. And God gave him suspension. Oh yeah, go and meet the king for the banquet. Because this is where he's about to do last card. Chapter 7. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. And while they were drinking wine on the second day, the king again asked, Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it will be granted. So then the queen answered, if I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, it would have been kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king. Then King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, who is he? Where is he, the man who had dared to do such a thing? And Esther said, an adversary, an enemy, the vile Haman. Then Haman was terrified before the king. Remember, I said on suspension. You know about what? Suspension. Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. The king got up in a rage. He left his wine and went out to the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, he stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. The Haman that was proud, suddenly he's begging. You see, pride goeth before a fall. The same Haman that was proud, suddenly he's begging. I said it earlier. Pride is a healthy snack. Eat it and digest it. Eat it, swallow it, digest it. It's a healthy snack. Swallow your pride. The Haman that was proud is on his knees begging Esther for his life. And just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. See how God is the master strategist. No, God is about to give him checkup. Last card, checkup. So the way Haman was begging, right? The way Haman was begging Esther, the way he was begging Esther, he was reclining to Esther. So the king now like, what kind of position is this one? Do you still want to rape my wife in front of me? And the king said, oh yeah, take Haman away. You see, the king exclaimed, will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house? As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the king's eunuchs, attending to the king, said, a pole reaching the height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He has set it up for Mordecai, who spoke up for helping the king. And the king said, impale him on it. So they impaled Haman on the pole that he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's fury subsided. This is where Haman's story ended. Just like that. Just like that. 3 lessons from the man called Haman. Number 1, be a key player. Haman was a key player. He was in the king's court. He was somebody who the king regarded and respected and honored. He was a key player. That's why he could convince the king to sign a decree to annihilate all the Jews. One of these is I'm going to tell you about princes. See, if you study scripture, you see that it's not necessarily the king that rules, it's the princes that suggest to the king. Haman was a prince. He suggested to the king what should be done to the Jews, and the king obeyed. The same way the princes suggested to King Darius that nobody should pray to any other god apart from him, and the king signed it into a decree. Are you getting this? So you must understand the role of princes. So lesson number 1, be a key player. Haman was a key player. He was not a substitute. He was not a bench warmer. Haman was a key player. Be a key player. Lesson number 2, be an influential favorite. Haman was the favorite of the king. The king loved Haman more than all the other princes or nobles. After the king, the next is Haman. Haman was the king's favorite. Are you getting this? After the king, the next is Haman. Haman was the king's favorite. And number 3 lesson to learn from Haman. Beware of God's people. They don't define God's people trouble. Right? They don't define God's people trouble. Beware of God's people. See them and do your own thing. Leave them alone. Are you getting this? Beware of God's people. Leave them alone. Because scripture says, I will trouble them that trouble you. I will contend with them that contend with you. Beware of God's people. Anywhere you see God's people, leave them alone. No? Because if Haman had left Mordecai alone, he would not have died the kind of death he died. If he had just left Mordecai alone. So beware of God's people. These are 3 simple lessons to learn from the man called Haman. And this applies to your life as a person. Be a key player, be an influential favorite, and also beware of God's people. They don't define God's person trouble. They don't define God picking trouble. Because God is the one who defends them. God is the one who fights for them. And the interesting thing in this whole story is the fact that God is a master strategist that orchestrates everything to work together for good with a sense of humor. So God removed Vashti, God installed Esther. While Haman was planning to kill Mordecai, that same night the king could not sleep. And then the king said, what has been done for the man who had done what he did that was recorded in the book of the remembrance? And he said, nothing. And he said, okay, who's in the court? Interestingly, Haman was the one in the court. They brought Haman. The king said, okay, what should be done for the one that the king wants to honor? Haman, thinking he was the one, he said everything he said. The king said, good. Go and do everything. One should not be out of it. Do everything for Mordecai. Plot twist. Plot twist. And then the same Haman's advisors and wife that told him, do the gallows so they can hang Mordecai, is the same one that now told him, if Mordecai is really a Jew, your downfall have just started, though. Your downfall has just started. And then Haman trying to beg Esther. If he declined to beg Esther, the king thought that Haman was trying to molest Esther. And instantly, he made a decree. And then the king's servant said, Haman already have a gallows in his house. Hang him there. And they went to hang Haman. And that was it. Plot twist. And then, guess what? Mordecai now became the one who replaced Haman. If you read down in scripture, you see it. Mordecai now became the one from sitting at the king's gates to sitting in the king's palace. See, God they do. God they do. God they overdo. God they overdo. That's why I told you that God is the strategist with a sense of humor. So, Mordecai did not only escape death, he replaced Haman. He replaced Haman. Only God can make that possible. Guys, this is it. This is the gist. This is the tea for today. The man called Haman. Amazing 3 lessons to learn from his life so that you don't become like him. Learn the lesson to be a key player. Learn the lesson to be an influential favorite. Learn the lesson, beware of God's people. Learn that lesson and it will help you in your journey. So guys, this is it. This is it. I enjoyed this conversation because you just never know how much you can learn even from someone like Haman that is very applicable in your everyday life. Be a key player. Don't be a substitute. Don't be a bench warmer. Be a key player. Be among the people who decide policies. Be a key player. But 2, be an influential favorite. Like I told you earlier, it doesn't matter who you like. It matters who likes you. And the king liked Haman. The king honored Haman. The king passed a decree for Haman. It's not about who you like. It's about who likes you. It's about who likes you. It's about who likes you, guys. Number 3, beware of God's people. Don't go and trouble God's people because God is the one who fights for them. He said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. God is the best at aura for aura. I've told us before, while we're talking about let's talk romance, don't do aura for aura. Let God do aura for you. God did aura for Abimelech when he took Abraham's wife, Sarah. God did aura for aura. God shut up the womb of the whole nation. Not just Abimelech's house, the whole nation. God shut up the whole womb. Let God do aura for you. Let God do aura for you. So God did aura for Mordecai. The plan that Mordecai had, the plan that Haman had against Mordecai was the plan that was carried out on Haman himself. How best can somebody do aura for aura? The plan that Haman had for Mordecai That was the plan that they executed on Haman. That is aura for aura at its finest. Aura for aura at its finest. So don't do aura for aura. Let God handle your case. He says, when your enemy is hungry, feed them. When they are thirsty, give them water to drink. He says, do not repay evil for good. I said this all the time. Do not give people a taste of their own medicine. Give them a taste of your own kindness. Give them a taste of your own mercy, not a taste of their own medicine. Don't do aura for aura. Let God do aura for you. That's what God did for Mordecai. The pit that Haman dug, he was the one that fell into it. Like they say, any pit where they dig for me, jump and pass. So those who dig pits, they will fall into it. That was what happened to Haman. So these are three important lessons to learn from the man called Haman. And I believe that you have learned something. And I believe that you can go back and practice what you've learned. Number one, be a key player. Number two, be an influential favorite. And number three, beware of God's people. They know the trouble God begin. No? They know the trouble God begin. Because God is the best at aura for aura. Egusi for egusi. Eko for eko. God is the best at it too. So don't go and trouble God's people. Anyone who troubles God's people does not live to tell the story. Don't mention no. According to Eric Gugua, we don't do that here. So, guys, this is where we call it a wrap for today, and I hope that you've learned something. And this is the way to welcome you again into the month of October, an amazing month, a month where you enjoy ease and supply. Yes, it's the month you enjoy ease and supply. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. To come your way another Friday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Remember, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. And that's why we encourage you that you leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you. And do well to share with your friends, your families, your loved ones, and even your enemies. Share, subscribe, like, turn on post notifications so you don't get to miss out on any of the amazing conversations that we get to have here every Fridays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Until next time, remember, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. And that's why we encourage you that you leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Thank you for watching. God bless you.